Yeah, I know, this thing doesn't look like a mouse from all angles, but trust me, these things are real. This category of computer mice is called an ergonomic mouse, and as you can see, the buttons are inclined in a slightly different angle than a normal flat computer mouse. The idea is that since these don't require your wrist to be twisted all around, it will be a little bit more comfortable to use for a long time. And yeah, since I've used this particular mouse for over a year at this point, and very recently I replaced it with my Quantum Snipe 1.0. You have heard me talk about this a lot. But recently when I saw this again on my table, I wondered, was there ever any real point of using this? I mean, do ergonomic mice really work? I mean, I'm very well familiar with how it feels and the difference between a flat versus ergonomic mouse, but in case you are wondering the same thing, well, here are my thoughts. In case you're wondering which this product is, I'm not sure what the company name is. I mean, this is one of those generic Chinese products that you get for like 500 or 600 bucks on Amazon. I got this about a year ago. I bought it with my own money. It doesn't have any branding on it, so I'm not sure where it came from, but it is relatively well made for the price. You can see it has a pretty shiny glossy finished plastic in the middle, and it's covered both the sides with a rubber finish, which is matte finished, so it gives you a good grip on your hand. And the scroll wheel here is surprisingly good. It's even better than some of the expensive mice that I've tried. It is slightly built better than your a standard office mouse, for example. It has a DPI mouse control button, so you can switch between 3 DPI modes, and yeah, it does work pretty well. This one in particular is a wireless mouse. It has an on-off switch on the bottom with a built-in battery that's rechargeable through this weird cable. It has USB on one end, but it takes this weird pinhole connector on the other end, so it's kind of a proprietary cable now. I would have preferred micro USB, but I hate those mouse where you have to kind of change those AA or AAA batteries every few months, so I hate that. I'm a big fan of rechargeable batteries, you know that already. So yeah, I try to make sure that everything I own is rechargeable via USB. It works through a standard 2.4 GHz receiver that comes in the package, but it doesn't have anywhere to store in the mouse itself. Like some mice have a compartment to store that receiver because it's a pretty tiny thing. So I guess these guys expect you to always plug that in your laptop and keep it there, which is fine, but it's not super easy to store it away. Anyway, let's talk about the main thing, the usability of this mouse. In short, I mean, at first it does feel a little bit weird because you have to hold your hand in a slightly inclined way than a normal flat position, but I can definitely tell that after using it for about 2 hours continuously, you can immediately tell the difference between this and a normal mouse. Especially the wrist area near your thumbs will definitely be a little bit more relaxed compared to a flat office mouse. I used to take this with me everywhere because this is the only one I had, so I used to carry this to my office and back home and used it on all of my computers. So yeah, this was my primary mouse for a very long time. Look, it even has shoulder buttons on the side, so the back and forward functions are also supported, which is great. It's not customizable though. It only works with the standard browser applications and stuff like that, so it can only be used for back and forward and nothing else. It's not customizable like some of the gaming mice are. While your index finger and middle finger are more or less the same in terms of using it after 2 or 3 hours, they feel about the same as using a flat mouse. The remaining fingers like your ring and your small finger, they definitely feel a lot more relaxed compared to a flat mouse. You see, even when you're using a flat mouse, usually they're either on the side of the mouse or either on the mouse itself in a very uncomfortable way. So they, after a while, at least I've observed that like after using a computer for 2 or 3 hours, the right side or the corner of my hand starts to feel a little bit weird. And this issue was pretty widely known, and that's the main reason why touchpads were invented in the first place, because using just one finger to kind of move the mouse pointer around is much less fatiguing to your hand than using 3 or 4 fingers on a mouse. But a touchpad doesn't have the tactical precision of a mouse itself, and you already know that, right? Your laptop's touchpad, no matter how good it is, unless you own something like a MacBook where the drivers are much more precise, a physical mouse will always be much more precise and easy to use than a trackpad. So I guess that's the solution that these ergonomic mice are trying to bring. Now this particular mouse that I have, it's not a perfect ergonomic mouse. It's almost 45-degree inclined, whereas there are some mice out there that are 90-degree inclined, meaning that your hand will perfectly be flat on the side instead of being twisted all the way. Those are ridiculously expensive for some reason, and I don't think they'll be of any better quality. It's just that those sellers are trying to make more money out of you. For the most part, this particular mouse works pretty well. It behaves exactly like a normal wired mouse. The precision is great, the buttons are okay, they're not that great. And now that I've used better mice, I know, but when I was using this as my primary mouse, I thought it was great. But because this is a generic Chinese product, it has its own drawbacks, like for example, it doesn't track across all different surfaces. We briefly discussed about this issue when we made a video about the best office mice that you can get. You can check it out if you haven't. But there are some mice out there that come with pretty low quality sensors, meaning that they do require a perfectly opaque, preferably cloth surface to be able to track the mouse movements. So if you place them on a flat surface with a slightly reflective background, something like a glass table or even a slightly glossy finish table, they don't work that well. I guess for some reason making that sensor for a wired mouse is pretty cheap. So the cheap office mice that you get which are wired, like this Lenovo one for example, it's under 300 rupees, but it tracks across any surface, and the DPI on this sensor, even though you can't change it, it's really good. Whereas the wireless options out there, they don't always translate to great performance, and not all of them are USB rechargeable, at least in the budget segment. I mean, I haven't searched for a USB powered wireless mice for a long time. I mean, if you have any great options in mind, then definitely let me know. I'll check it out. But yeah, I mean, this one was the best option that I found a year ago, and I was pretty proud of owning this for a long time. It's not all good news though. I mean, with products like these, they skimp out on some essential features. Like for example, the screws here, you can see they're clearly rusted. That shouldn't happen because the good companies, or the screws that are present in good products, they have this anti-corrosive paint, meaning that the screws won't get corroded even after a long while. Even though they do have paint on them, they don't have a proper anti-corrosive coating on them. So even though I have taken good care of them, they haven't gotten wet or anything. But these are generic Chinese products, so can't really expect much from these. Since these screws are right here, let's just open this up and see what's inside. Need a bigger screw. I guess this is why they say size matters. Okay, there we go. If it's big enough, it'll get the job done. That's what she said. Wow, this thing really comes apart with no effort whatsoever. Now I do have to be a little careful before poking around inside because the battery is inside it. Let's just disconnect these buttons, which I think are the left-right clicks and stuff. This looks like it's the main motherboard. I'm a genius. There it is, the entire assembly with the scroll wheel and whatnot. Interestingly, I always find dead spiders and cockroaches inside my electronics. I don't know why. Whew. That's the sensor, by the way. This LED is the red light that we see underneath those mice. That is what reflects the light that's coming in here evenly across the surface, so that I think it sees from here. See that? It's a tiny camera that sees through this particular ball-like, spear-like thing, and then it sends that to the circuits, which basically received by the 2.5 gigahertz receiver that's plugged in your system. But I'm not sure what exactly happens in this chip though. I'm not an electrical engineer. They didn't have to settle for a weird 45-degree orientation like this. They could have gone all the way. Maybe they already printed a lot of these chassis and they thought, you know what, let's just go with this. Now that I'm putting this back, I'm not sure if I should include those dead cockroaches because I'm not sure if it's just a bug or a feature. Get it? Bug or a... Let's just assume I did everything correctly. There we go. And to answer our original question, is there a point to buying these weirdly shaped mice? Yeah, there actually is. Like I discussed earlier, they do feel a lot more easier to use, especially when using for a long time, and your hands don't feel tired even after using them. Basically, these bones that are parallel to your wrist, they get twisted, and this issue is common for keyboards as well. People are experimenting a lot with computer peripherals these days, and rightfully so. I mean, since we spend so much time using them, might as well make them most comfortable to use, right? So yeah, if you find any great deals on these ergonomic mice, or if you think you can afford that high price, then definitely go for it. Unless they are from a generic Chinese brand, they'll usually be better than wired mice, and they'll bring the equal amount of features, and of course your wrists will thank you in the long run. So hopefully you found this video entertaining or insightful in any way. Share this video with one of those friends who always try the weirdest new things. Maybe they'll enjoy looking at these kind of mice. I'll leave links to some of my favorite non-weird mice in the description, so you can check it out for your reference if you're interested. So until next time, take good care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.